Hey guys, recently I noticed I was getting a lot of interest from people that are looking at building their own trailers or thinking about it and trying to make a decision if they want to take, I guess, that plunge and do it. So I thought I'd put a little video together about kind of my skill sets, how I got to this point, with my build, give you a little bit of background, and maybe it'll help you guys make a decision if you should start on your own. All right, so how did I get to this point? I would say that really the COVID was the big kicker for me. I've always done a lot of camping, be it ground camping, car camping, backpacking, and then in the last probably 7 years, more kind of what people would say expeditioning or overlanding, whatever the pop term is at the moment. But I would just call it remote camping, I guess. Maybe off the grid. I would try to get to as far out as possible, away from people. I like to do astrophotography, wildlife, kind of that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to get away as far as possible and kind of be off the grid. So before I had a kind of a fiberglass bucket camper, you'd call it, with a rooftop tent on it, had like a water tank in it. And I used that for 4 or 5 years, loved it. Way better than ground camping, in my opinion. Just ease of setup, not getting your tent muddy. There's just a lot of benefits. But one of the negatives for me was there was still a decent amount of prep to set your camp, like having to get your stuff ready and prep camp and set it up. I would say probably about 30 minutes to get my camp fully set. And probably the most major one for me was the tents are very noisy, and then when you put it on a roof, you hear everything around you. So if you are near people, you will hear them. Like if you are at a campsite or something, you will hear them. I'm also very sensitive to noise. So wind, animals walking around, it would wake me up. So, and there's no insulation in that thing, right? So that's the other thing. So with COVID, I was like, man, I got time on my hands. I want to do something that's constructive, put my time to good use. So I started researching these guys and saw that they're anywhere between 9,000 to 15,000 for what I'm trying to build. Now, they can go from, way more expensive. Yeah. Really sky's the limit on the price. So that kind of gives you how I started building the guy. I'll go into some of my skill sets, I guess. I am not a woodworker. I'm not a carpenter. I'm not a craftsman. I would say I am a naturally handy, I guess. I do my own housework. I've done almost all the work on my vehicle. The latest suspension I had recently done, I did not do. For those that are interested, metal cloak. Suspension, that's the first thing I've ever had done on my vehicle. Everything else I've done myself. And maybe one day I'll do a walk around on the actual Wrangler and everything I've done. So my point was, I don't have a whole lot of skills here. I'm learning as I'm going. So, and most of my tools that I had were stuff I had from just house maintenance, right? Just from owning a house, things I've kind of acquired on my do-it-yourself kind of projects. I had a skill saw. I've had, a drill and an impact, and a sawzall. That's probably covers mostly of what I had for this job. I picked up a welder, borrowed a chop saw, borrowed a belt sander. I picked up, a palm sander. I got, my tools are everywhere. I got a grinder over there I picked up. Biscuit joiner. Let's see. And then over here, probably one of the big ones, I got the guide for my plunge saw, which is somewhere. I'm not sure. Yeah. So you can see, there's the plunge saw on top of the table saw. So you can see I'm working with very limited space and making do. So for those that don't have a lot of space, if you got room to fit it, you probably got room to work on it. It's not the best scenario, but hey, I'm getting it done. So tool-wise, you know, I had a bit of an investment. Most of these tools are not that expensive. And you don't have to buy them all at once, right? I've been kind of slowly gathering them as I'm building. I haven't been in a rush to build this. I started sometime, I don't know, May maybe, when COVID started ramping up, and it's kind of self-isolating. And yeah, I will release another video coming soon that will show kind of how it's constructed, how everything's put together. I will have a new video coming up soon with the fiberglassing. And I still got a lot of work before that video comes out. You know, I got 2 walls done, got another 4 to do, which will require me to flip the thing, which I'm not even sure. There's no way I can probably even flip this thing in this garage. So I'll have to take it out and then flip it so I can get to the roof and bottom. Anyway, one of those little obstacles I'll have to figure out how to overcome, especially it really just being me doing this. So I might have to get some beers out and have some people over to help me flip this thing. The only other thing I would like to cover for those is if you do consider building one of these guys, leverage your communities, right? So this build is a Shawnee Hills. It's kind of a YouTuber, carpenter guy. And I've stumbled across his video, and he was selling his blueprints really reasonably. So I picked those up and I modified them. He had a pop-up top, so, and like bunk beds up there for his kids. I modified his and extended my roof. So from here up, that's one of the adjustments I made from his. But my point is you find somebody that's building something similar to what you're interested in and try to get with them, you know, see how they built it. They might have some advice. You got to take in that, you know, like me, I am not a professional. I don't pretend to be, but you know, people that you might find on the internet, most of them might pretend to be professionals. So take you know, people's advice with, you know, a grain of salt. But there will be some, you know, awesome people out there that kind of do this stuff are almost a living, and they will help you out, and you can kind of learn from them. Also, if you have a family member, like my dad, he's a all around handy guy, right? So carpenter, woodworker, electrician, plumber, everything, mason, everything that you can imagine. I'm fortunate enough that he's got the skill sets, so I can call him, and I've got hours and hours on the phone talking with him about how to go about building these things and recommendations and products to use. So if you got somebody like that in your family or somebody you know, leverage it, right? You know, see if you can use it, because it'll save you money doing that. Me not being skilled at this at all, I've had to reuse plywood or rebuy plywood because I made bad cuts. Even though I measured 3 times, cut once. Well, when I did cut, I measured wrong all 3 times. Especially when I start getting into the 45s. I'm not good at measuring those. I end up measuring to the inner cut and should measure to the, you know, the longer exterior cut, whatever. I've screwed it up. So I probably bought 3 extra sheets of plywood. So factor that in. And you will probably have some costs like that if you don't really know what you're doing. So having somebody that can kind of give you advice makes a huge difference. So guys, I think that kind of covers what I wanted to go through. I hope this kind of inspires some of you to maybe start on your build if you're interested. I will have a couple more videos hopefully coming out in the near future. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe.